Constantinople, 1453. The day an empire died. Imagine waking before dawn. The city around you has stood for more than 1,000 years. It has survived plagues, civil wars, countless invasions, and armies from every corner of Europe and Asia. Massive stone walls so formidable that no enemy has ever broken them by force surround your home. To many, your city is not simply another capital. It is the center of the Christian world and the last surviving remnant of the Roman Empire. Yet this morning feels different. Church bells echo through narrow streets as priests pray for a miracle. Families huddle together inside their homes, soldiers sharpen swords already worn from weeks of battle. Outside the walls, more than 80,000 Ottoman troops wait in silence. Hundreds of cannons are aimed directly at the city. Within hours, Constantinople, the city that had endured for more than 11 centuries, would fall forever. Its emperor would disappear into history, and the medieval world would come to an end. Constantinople was founded in the year 330 by the Roman Emperor Constantine the Great. Built on a peninsula between Europe and Asia, it controlled the narrow Bosporus Strait, one of the world's most valuable trade routes. Merchants carrying silk from China, spices from India, and grain from the Black Sea all passed through its harbours. The city became unimaginably wealthy. Grand churches rose above marble streets, markets overflowed with goods from 3 continents, and at its heart stood the Hagia Sophia, the largest cathedral ever built, crowned by an enormous dome that appeared to float in the sky. For centuries, Constantinople seemed untouchable. Its greatest defence was the legendary Theodosian walls, stretching almost 6 kilometres across the western side of the city. The defences consisted of a deep moat, an outer wall, and a towering inner wall reinforced by nearly 100 towers. Army after army had failed to breach them. The Persians failed, the Arabs failed, the Bulgarians failed. Even Attila the Hun never attempted a full assault. Many believed the city was protected by God himself. By the 15th century, however, Constantinople was only a shadow of its former self. Once home to perhaps 500,000 people, the population had fallen dramatically. After repeated wars, disease, and economic decline, large sections of the city lay abandoned. The empire that had once stretched from Spain to Syria now consisted of little more than Constantinople and a few isolated territories. Surrounding it on almost every side was a rapidly expanding power, the Ottoman Empire. In 1451, a 19-year-old sultan named Mehmed II inherited the throne. Many European leaders dismissed him as inexperienced, but they would soon regret it. Mehmed was highly educated, fluent in several languages, and obsessed with one goal above all others. He would conquer Constantinople. Not only would it cement his legacy, but it would unite his empire and establish him as the ruler who achieved what generations before him had failed to do. Knowing the city could receive reinforcements by sea, Mehmed first built a massive fortress called Rumeli Hisarı on the European side of the Bosporus. Together with another fortress opposite it, every ship attempting to reach Constantinople now had to sail directly beneath Ottoman cannons. One Venetian vessel ignored the warning. It was sunk, and its captain was executed. The message was unmistakable. No help was getting through. Meanwhile, Mehmed commissioned one of the largest cannons the world had ever seen. Designed by a Hungarian engineer named Orban, the enormous bombard fired stone cannonballs weighing hundreds of kilograms. Transporting it required dozens of oxen and hundreds of workers. It took hours to reload, but every shot shook the earth. For the first time in history, the seemingly invincible walls of Constantinople faced weapons capable of breaking them apart. On the 6th of April, 1453, the Ottoman army arrived. Some estimates suggest it numbered between 80,000 and 100,000 soldiers. Facing them inside the city were roughly 7,000 defenders. Among them were Byzantine troops, volunteers, monks, and around 700 Genoese soldiers, led by the experienced commander Giovanni Giustiniani. Their emperor, Constantine XI Palaiologos, refused every offer to surrender. According to later accounts, he declared he would rather die than abandon the city, entrusted to him. The siege had begun. Every day Ottoman cannons thundered against the walls. Every night defenders rushed out to repair the damage under cover of darkness. The cycle repeated again and again, week after week. The Golden Horn, Constantinople's protected harbour, was blocked by an enormous iron chain stretched across its entrance. The Ottoman navy could not enter. It appeared to be another problem, impossible to solve. Then Mehmed attempted something extraordinary. Rather than forcing his ships through the harbour entrance, he ordered them transported over land. Thousands of workers laid greased wooden logs across nearby hills. Under cover of darkness, dozens of Ottoman ships were hauled uphill and then lowered into the Golden Horn behind the chain. When defenders awoke, enemy warships had somehow appeared inside their supposedly secure harbour. The psychological impact was enormous. Now the city faced attack from two directions. After nearly 2 months of relentless bombardment, the walls were beginning to fail. Mehmed knew the decisive moment had arrived. In the early hours of the 29th of May, 1453, the final assault began. Wave after wave of Ottoman soldiers charged the damaged walls. The first attacks were largely expendable troops, sent to exhaust the defenders. Next came experienced Anatolian soldiers. Finally, the elite Janissaries advanced. At the height of the battle, Giovanni Giustiniani, the city's most capable military commander, was seriously wounded. His removal from the battlefield caused confusion among the defenders. At roughly the same time, a small postern gate known as the Kerkerporte may have been left unsecured. Historians still debate exactly what happened, but Ottoman soldiers gained access to the walls. Soon, their banners flew above the city, panic spread, and the defence collapsed. Emperor Constantine XI understood the battle was lost. According to tradition, he removed the imperial insignia from his armour. No longer wishing to be recognised as emperor, he joined the ordinary soldiers in one final charge against the advancing Ottomans. He was never seen alive again. His body was never conclusively identified. The last Roman emperor disappeared into legend. With his death ended an empire whose origins stretched back almost 15 centuries to Augustus and Julius Caesar. Later that day, Mehmed II rode into the conquered city. Instead of destroying Constantinople, he intended to make it the capital of his growing empire. He entered the Hagia Sophia, where terrified civilians had gathered seeking refuge. The great cathedral was converted into a mosque. Rather than abandoning the city, Mehmed ordered it repopulated. People from across the Ottoman Empire were encouraged, and in some cases required, to settle there. Constantinople would live on, eventually becoming known throughout the world as Istanbul. The fall of Constantinople was far more than the capture of a single city. Many historians regard it as the event that marked the end of the Middle Ages. The Ottoman Empire became the dominant power in southeastern Europe and the eastern Mediterranean for centuries. Trade routes between Europe and Asia became more difficult and expensive for many Western merchants. This encouraged European kingdoms to search for new sea routes to the east. Within decades, Portuguese explorers rounded Africa, and Christopher Columbus sailed west across the Atlantic. The age of exploration had begun. Meanwhile, Greek scholars, fleeing the city, carried ancient manuscripts to Italy. Their knowledge of classical philosophy, science, and literature helped fuel the Renaissance, influencing generations of artists, scientists, and thinkers. Today, the Theodosian walls still stand. Scarred by cannon fire, they remain among the greatest military fortifications ever built. The Hagia Sophia still dominates Istanbul's skyline nearly 15 centuries after its construction. Millions of people walk the same streets where Roman emperors, Byzantine nobles, crusaders, and Ottoman sultans once stood. The story of Constantinople reminds us that no empire lasts forever, not Rome, not Byzantium, and not even those that seem impossible to defeat. For more than 1,000 years, Constantinople resisted the greatest armies on earth, but on one spring morning in 1453, history changed forever. The city fell, an empire ended, and a new age began.